It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of November 10th, 1995. Only 3 movies to look at today, so this should be a pretty easy one to get to. So let's get through this one, and we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. Of course, the sequel to Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. So this doesn't even come 2 years after the original Ace Ventura was one of the first films to put Jim Carrey's name on the map, and because of this movie went through several different directors while they went into production. One of the directors was Tom DiCirico, who actually went on to direct Celtic Pride a year later, and because of the success of the first movie, Jim Carrey kind of had the power to decide which director he wanted to have work on this, and so he essentially replaced him with Steve Odenkirk, which has been a name that you have very much heard of. Even if you've never heard of the name, you've definitely seen his work before. He's worked on stuff like Kung Pao Into the Fist. He worked on Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, Barnyard, just a number of different projects that you may not know his name, but you've definitely seen his work before. He wrote Bruce Almighty and Evan Almighty. He has a good rapport with Jim Carrey. And actually, there was a point where Spike Jonze was intended to direct the film, but Carrey turned it down because there was no experience between him as a filmmaker at that point, and Carrey himself even admitted that it would become one of his biggest regrets by not hiring him, which, I don't know, it would have been a really, really different movie if Spike Jonze directed this movie. I mean, just my thinking on it, but, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective was a big hit, and so naturally the sequel to this was a movie that everyone was really looking forward to, and sure enough, the movie actually did pretty well. It actually surpassed the previous film. It became a huge hit at the box office, surpassing the predecessor, and yet it was one of those movies that Jim Carrey basically said, I don't want to do sequels, because he vehemently denied doing sequels for the longest period of time. Like, it's the only sequels he would ever do after this point, I believe, were Kick-Ass 2 and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And I think he was offered The Mask 2 at one point, and then Ace Ventura, of course, and then I think he was also offered a chance to do another Bruce Almighty movie, but he didn't return for those. And Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, I think, is a very funny movie. I think it's a fun concept. I mean, why not take this character and put him in Africa? I mean, that's a great concept alone. Would make for a fun sequel, and there are funny moments in here. Is it as good as the original film? I won't go that far. I think it's definitely a little bit of a step down from the previous movie, but it still has a ton of funny moments that just still hold up after all these years. It's just a movie that's just still very funny, still very creative. Moments in here that I could still watch this movie and memorize the lines to this over and over again. It's just that these scenes are just that good that it's still very funny. It's still very creative. It's not as good as the previous film, obviously, but it still does more than enough to recommend it. I think if you like the first Ace Ventura movie, chances are you're definitely going to love this one a lot. Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. If you like the first one, you're definitely going to really enjoy this one. So, with that said, on to the next movie, and that is Carrington. So basically, you're following a relationship between artist Dora Carrington, played here by Emma Thompson, and Linton Strachey. Strachey? I think I'm pronouncing that right. He's played by Jonathan Pryce, and this takes place in the early 20th century. So it's a period piece movie, and one that I'm not too familiar with. I don't even think that this was the notable film that Emma Thompson did in '95 that received a lot of praise. I think that was Sense and Sensibility, which we'll get to eventually. But I don't really know too much about this one. I haven't seen it, so I can't really delve too much about it. But I mean, it's got Emma Thompson and Jonathan Pryce, two very good actors, and I think they could really usually sell a movie and put some effort into it, even if the movie doesn't end up being as great as they want it to be. I wish I had some more for you, but really, I don't know too much about this movie. I thought this was one that I had some idea on, but I'm looking at here. I'm thinking of another movie that was nominated for an Oscar for costume design. I think this was one of them, but I don't think it ever won anything. But yeah, I'm just padding time out here. So that's Carrington. I really don't know too much about this one, nor do I do the last one. We'll get to this last one real quick, and that is Jason Patric and Tandy Newton in The Journey of August King. So Jason Patric plays the title character of August King. He's a widower who's on his way home after selling his produce and purchasing the stocks and goods he will need for the coming year. And on his journey, he comes across the 17-year-old runaway slave played by Tandy Newton. and he must decide to violate the law and help her get to freedom, or leave her to be hunted down and ultimately return to her master. But the drama turns into a question of whether either soul will gain freedom. And like I said, I don't really know too much about this one. I've never really seen it before, but aside from Jason Patric and Tandy Newton, you've got Larry Drake, you've got Sam Waterston, Maya Angelou narrates this movie. Some notable names in here. I don't really know too much about it to really delve into this movie overall. I don't know too much about it, so I can't really say if it's good or not. But it doesn't look too bad. I mean, but the fact that I couldn't really find a good trailer for it, and I just had to use clips from Siskel and Ebert to showcase what this movie is, that should probably tell you something about the lasting legacy that this movie had. I mean, it could be good, but I don't think it is. So, anyway, that's the journey of August King. So on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll have 4 movies next time around. Again, some notable movies, including the first James Bond movie with Pierce Brosnan in it, GoldenEye. We also have Rob Reiner's Redemption for North, The American President, with Michael Douglas and Annette Bening, plus an all-star cast. The Olsen twins in their first movie after Full House ended, with Steve Guttenberg and Kirstie Alley, It Takes Two. And also Jack Nicholson starring in The Crossing Guard. So 4 movies to look at next time around. We'll delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.